you survived something that most people today couldn't handle for a single afternoon. And it shaped you in ways you probably haven't even named yet. If you grew up in the 1970s, you already know the world was different. Not better, not worse, different. There were no GPS trackers on your bike, no text message to say you made it home, no one watching. You just went, and somehow you survived. But here's what nobody tells you: that freedom, that danger, that beautiful, terrifying independence, it didn't just give you memories, it rewired your psychology. In this video, we're going deep. We're going to talk about the rare traits that quietly live inside people who came of age in that decade. Some of these will surprise you, some will make you proud, and one might actually explain why you feel so out of place in the modern world. Stay with me. Let's start at the beginning. When you were a kid in the 70s, no one was scheduling your imagination. There was no enrichment program at 4 p.m., no algorithm deciding what you should watch next, no screen pulling you back every 90 seconds. There was nothing, and nothing is powerful. Psychologists call it unstructured time, and research shows it's one of the most critical ingredients for building a resilient, creative mind. When you're bored as a child, your brain doesn't shut down. It activates. It starts asking questions. It starts building worlds. It starts solving problems that no adult assigned to you. You learned to sit with yourself. Think about that for a second. You learned to be alone without being lonely. That is rare. Studies on modern children show anxiety spikes the moment the phone is taken away. But you grew up with that silence. You made friends with it. And here's what that built inside you: a mind that can think independently, not reactively, not in real time, but deeply. You don't need constant input to function. You can sit, you can think, you can decide. That skill is almost extinct now, and you carry it like a quiet superpower. Here's the part that gets uncomfortable. Your parents weren't hovering. That's not an insult to them. It was a different time, a different understanding of childhood. But what does it do to a child when they fall off their bike and no one immediately rushes over? They get up on their own. They look at the blood, they decide it's not that bad, and they keep riding. Psychologists have a term for this. It's called self-efficacy. It means your belief in your own ability to handle what life throws at you. And you developed it young, not because your parents didn't love you, because they trusted you. Maybe they didn't even realize they were doing it, but they gave you something priceless. They let you fail in small ways before the stakes were too high. And every small failure you survived made you believe in yourself a little more. Now contrast that with today. Children are protected from every scrape. Every social conflict is mediated. Every competition has a participation trophy. And we wonder why anxiety is at an all-time high. You didn't get that kind of protection, and yes, sometimes that hurt, but it also made you unbreakable in the ways that matter most. When the real world hit you, job loss, heartbreak, failure, you didn't shatter, you bent, and then you got back up, just like you did on that bike. But here's the part nobody talks about. Growing up with all that freedom came with a shadow, because freedom without guidance isn't always beautiful. Sometimes it's just lonely. And a lot of people who grew up in the 1970s carry that loneliness quietly, right beside the resilience, right beside the strength. We need to talk about that. Here's something almost no one says out loud. Many of you who grew up in the 70s learned to be self-sufficient because you had no choice. Not all of that was healthy. Some of you learned to suppress emotions because there was no one to process them with. Some of you learned to be hyper-independent because depending on others had let you down before. You became the strong one, the capable one, the one who figures it out. And you're proud of that. You should be proud of that. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the very strengths that got you through childhood become the walls that keep real connection out in adulthood. Hyper-independence is just isolation wearing a cape. You don't ask for help easily. You struggle to let people in fully. You feel guilty when you're vulnerable. Sound familiar? This isn't weakness. This is adaptation. Your nervous system learned very early on that you could only rely on yourself, and it never fully got the memo that things changed. The world shifted. Safe people entered your life. Real love showed up. But that old wiring, it's still running, still protecting you, still telling you, don't need too much from anyone. That protection served you once, but does it still serve you now? That's the question worth sitting with. So what do you do with all of this? You can't go back and change your childhood. You can't rewire decades of adaptation overnight. But you can start to understand yourself with more compassion. Here's the first thing. Name it. If you're someone who learned to never need anyone, just say it. Not to fix it immediately, just to see it clearly. I learned very young to handle things alone, and sometimes I still carry that, even when I don't have to. That one sentence is more powerful than years of pretending. The second thing, honor the strengths. Your ability to think deeply, your resilience under pressure, your creativity from boredom, your refusal to give up. These aren't small things. In a world of fragile, distracted minds, you are something genuinely rare. Don't let anyone make you feel like your toughness is a flaw. But the third thing, and this is the hardest one, let yourself be held sometimes. Not rescued, not saved, just held. Allow someone to show up for you the way you always show up for everyone else. You spent your whole childhood proving you didn't need anyone. You proved it. Now you can let that go. The strongest people I've ever seen are the ones who learned to be soft without losing their steel. That's not weakness, that's mastery. You grew up in a decade that asked a lot of you. Before you were ready, before you even understood the question. It made you capable. It made you independent. It made you resilient in ways that most people spend their whole lives trying to build. But it also made you tired in ways you don't always admit, in ways you've gotten so good at hiding that sometimes even you forget they're there. Here's what I want to leave you with. The child in that old footage, the one riding bikes until dark, building forts alone, sitting with silence, they weren't broken. They were becoming, and so were you. You are still becoming. Every hard thing you survived was not evidence that life was against you. It was evidence that you were made for something that required a person like you. Someone tough enough to endure, wise enough to feel, and, if you're willing, open enough to finally rest. You've earned that rest. If this video touched something in you, something you've carried quietly for a long time, leave a comment below, even just 2 words. Tell me what came up. And if you know someone who grew up in that era, someone who could use these words today, send this to them. They'll know why. I'll see you in the next one.